Hello, everybody. Greetings and good morning, and welcome here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. And we're here on this lovely morning to do another episode from the series we're running for the month of March called My 31 Favorite Rock Bands Who Had basically two albums released in the same year. So last little bit, we've been in the 60s, but we're moving right up into the 70s now from 1970. Should come as no surprise that this is on my list. Black Sabbath's debut album and Paranoid, released by Black Sabbath as their second album. And what a fantastic second album. So for me, jump ahead 10 years. In 1980, I had been listening to a few bands, and sorry, had a little bit of a rush there for a second. Anyways, so I've been listening to a bunch of bands early in the 1980s, and actually had built up. So there was four of them basically. People have heard me say before: Queen, Styx, Black Sabbath, and Rush. So by 1980, Rush and Black Sabbath were my two favorite bands at that time period. Black Sabbath briefly held that position in second, but they've always been in, ever since I've been recording my five favorite or my top group, they've been one of those bands in that top group. Currently, they're sitting seventh in my group of 9, but all special bands. This band has more masterpiece albums than any other band in my collection, but these two, both fantastic. So we'll start by talking about the debut album a little bit. So this album came out early in 1970. Absolutely killer album. The album cover is kind of a little bit creepy. This is England and probably the fall. That house, I think people have talked about it. I don't know. Was this recorded in England? I believe it was recorded in England. Would make sense. They are a Birmingham band, released in the early part of 1970. The title track, kind of creepy as hell. Then, you've got the songs that most people are familiar with off this album: The Wizard and The Wizard and the Wasp. Part of the Wasp is NIB. That's the part that most people know. Some pretty heavy stuff for that time period. Definitely bordering on metal sound. Lots of heavy bluesy sound, and you've got the dominating riffing guitar parts of Tony Iommi, which is among the best riffers of all time. I do like this album. Wicked World, like that a lot. The Wizard's probably my favorite tune on here, and then the Wasp, I like Behind the Wall of Sleep, the bass part during the Wasp, and then the NIB, really great. Yeah, a really strong album, but it's never really quite been good enough to make my masterpiece list, although it tries. It's been on the short list a couple times, but hasn't made it. But really good album. Second album, big jump up to this, definitely a masterpiece. Side 1 of this album is among the best sides of any album for any group at any time. You've got War Pigs, Luke's Wall, which is the opening track. Everybody knows that one. The generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Yeah, really well-known part. Paranoid, of course, probably their big hit. Everybody knows that. I actually didn't mind it today when I was listening to it. I don't generally like hearing it too much because it's overplayed. Planet Caravan, that's a song that I really came to like much later. It's very psychedelic. It's got a lot of kind of acidy feel to it. Great tune. And then, of course, Iron Man, getting a resurgence with the movies as well. So great tune. The backside, not as strong, but still really good. As good as a lot of bands will ever have. Electric Funeral is a really kind of psychedelic, kind of acid rock song. I love this song. It's really heavy too, right? Hand of Doom, and Jack Jack the Stripper or Fairies Wear Boots if you prefer. Both really good, solid, deep cuts on the album. Many people know both of these songs. Rat Salad to me is the only song on here that I really don't care much for. It's a drum part by Bill Ward, which I do like the drumming on this album. This is, to me, probably the best drumming of any of the Sabbath albums with Bill Ward on it. But I just never cared much for Rat Salad. But other than that, fantastic album, other than the fact that the cover's kind of lame. But the album itself is fantastic. So those are the two albums that came out in 1970 for Black Sabbath, their debut album, self-titled debut album, and Paranoid, their second album, which came out later in the year. So yeah, both really good, fantastic. And thank you for joining me today. Please hit the like and subscribe. And if you want to comment on either of the two albums or on the band or anything I've said, you can do that in the comment section below. And we will be back tomorrow. So have yourself a good day, a good night, and goodbye. So take care and goodbye.